There is.
So maybe there's something you can explain to us on the vaccines themselves. So we hear a lot about the efficacy or the viability, right? And the Moderna and the Pfizer are 95%,
Yes.
but the Johnson & Johnson is only 75 to 80%. What does that mean?
So what they do, the question is, thank you, Mayor, the question is basically the efficacy of the vaccines, and they give these percentages as to how beneficial they are. Basically, how do they determine it? What does that mean? Maybe even which vaccination should you consider? You have to remember the whole course of vaccines. And if any of you watched about a month ago or 2 months ago, we gave a talk where I actually talked about some of the factors associated with the vaccinations. They really rushed this process to get this vaccination for obvious reasons. To give, by way of example, most times to get a vaccine to market, like the influenza vaccine, takes 7 to 10 years. They did this in like 6 months. So a lot of even the studies on the actual effectiveness of it probably still have some learning to go, so to say, to be accurate. I just saw a recent study now that the most recent cohort of Johnson & Johnson people tested were in excess of 90% effective. So what does it mean? Let's go to that. What it means is you've received the vaccination and you've developed antibodies against the virus. That's how they determine how efficacious the vaccine is. So if they give it to a bunch of people, and so for example, let's say if it says 94%, you can look at that as if they gave it to 100 people, 94 of them would form antibodies, and therefore we assume that they're then protected against infection. And so that's how you would use those numbers. There would still be 6 people, perhaps in that example, that received the vaccine that still weren't protected. And what we've seen with some of the people who aren't protected now, and actually Colorado's famous for one thing, we have the first detected case of the B1.1.7 variant. You may have heard of these variants that are out there. They name these variants. And Colorado is famous for having the first variant case of COVID. So some of the infections that you see after people are vaccinated are either potentially a variant strain where the virus has changed its face just a little bit and now it can reinfect just like it's a new virus and the vaccine isn't good against it, or it was someone who maybe had a vaccine and it just didn't take. The other thing with COVID is with a lot of disease processes, the antibodies, that's what our bodies form to keep the virus away, right? To kill it when it gets into us. In a lot of disease processes, these antibodies could even be lifelong, or certainly for long periods of time, our body has them and we don't get reinfected with the same strain again. COVID, uniquely enough, they found that in some people, your antibodies were staying as short as 3 to 6 months. So almost like a continual need to almost get your body, remind your body, hey, we've got this virus here that we have to deal with. So those are some of the reasons that you've seen some weird numbers with, is the vaccine effective or is it not? Mm-hmm. And you've seen weird numbers with how effective is it? Those are a few explanations for that.